Hey everybody, welcome back inside another exciting episode of The Stash Report from The Stash Project. Today is June 10th, 2019, and apparently the domestic gods have fallen upon the modeling world and actually give us something of a show this week. Not a whole heck of a lot coming out of Japan, again, because it is that first full week of June, and there's not really too much usually in the first full week of any given month in Japan. We didn't get the Hasegawa, I guess it would be, August releases at this point, because all of their new kits they announced at Shizuoka will be out by the end of July. So yes, it is the August stuff. Usually they announce on the first of the month or the closest Monday to the first of the month, and they didn't do that this month, so be interested to see what they have up their sleeve in terms of what kits they will announce for August when they get around to it. And really, there's nothing to talk about in that sense. No real teases or anything, mainly because, you know, they didn't announce. So, whoops. I'm sure there's a reason for somewhere along the lines, but it's on vacation or something. Whatever. It's not like we won't be able to function without knowing what comes in August in the middle of June. A few things out of Japan in terms of accessories that people may be interested in. Studio 27 has reissued their Mazda 787B photo etch. That's what goes to the Tamiya kit, which is being reissued this month. That has been out of production for quite a while. They are doing a new carbon fiber decal set for the Toyota Hybrid TS050. Exactly 0 people in the world are surprised about that. And they are also doing a photo etch set for the Tamiya Ford GT, the road car. They have done a set probably 2 months ago now for the Revell of Germany, Revell USA Ford GT race car, the GT LM car. But this will be a set for the road car that Tamiya did. Now, people who watch the channel all the time and watch the inside the box stuff that we do when we get new stuff in knows that Hobby Design already did a set, but I know a lot of people can't find Hobby Design. They really only have 1 or maybe 2 suppliers in the United States. A lot of the vendors don't carry them because Hobby Design likes to try to sell themselves, through themselves, I should say, and then they try to sell through their authorized vendors and things like that. So, Studio 27 tends to be more widely available outside of Japan. A lot of places in Europe carry it and things like that. But so, if you didn't pick up a set and you happen to be looking for something, it looks like Studio 27's is going to be just a little sheet of photo etch for mostly grill openings and things like that. It's not nearly as complex, if you will, as the Hobby Design one that has additional pieces and parts and seatbelt material and stuff like that. So, at any rate, those things will be coming out in the month of June. I know for a lot of us who have the hybrid Le Mans car, we were kind of waiting to build, at least some of us were waiting to build them until those carbon fiber decals came in, because you do get some carbon fiber decals with the Tamiya kit itself for the rear wing, for the sort of the rear over fenders, if you will, for the rear end. There's a set of carbon fiber decals that sort of go over the back, basically between the that center vane and the wheel wells themselves. And I think there's carbon fiber for like the front lips, the front splitter, and inside the headlight bezels. The Studio 27 is going to be, one of there's carbon fiber for pretty much everything type of deals. It's actually 2 sheets of decals. So, if you're looking to sort of super detail, that will be available. Be interested to see who I assume would be Studio 27 at some point will do a photo etch set for it. The only thing about a photo etch set would be there's probably not really a lot there due to the way that the brakes on the TS050 are. They're not, a set of disc brakes with rotors. Or I should say disc brakes with rotors and calipers. They're regenerative, part of the hybrid system, so they really don't have that type of setup. So, there's a couple of, grill openings and things like that, but there's not a lot there. So maybe we'll get one, maybe we won't. It's not a be-all, end-all. If nobody does one, I'm not going to be all like, well, I can't build it, no photo etch, but I definitely did want to get the carbon fiber. So that being said, There are a number of domestic releases this week, and there are a few things from Japan, mostly reissues, but there are a couple of new things, or new in box things, depending on how you look at it. And all the domestic kits, for exception of like one round two kit, all came in that we're expecting this month, all at once, basically. So, bonanza for everybody out there. And so we'll start. We got kits from round two. We have kits from Mobius, kits from Salvino's JR. If you can't find something, in a small American box to buy out of all this, I don't know what to tell you. So, that being said, I'm trying to think how I want to do this as I look at the images here. I also have a kit out of Revell, too. So, everybody, all the domestic manufacturers are featured in this week's video to some certain extent. So, we'll start with round two. They have the most stuff. On the MPC side of things, their one kit for this month is a reissue of their venerable, at this point, Willys military Jeep. This is going to be co-branded for the Godzilla 75th anniversary of Godzilla. That is coming up this year. There's, of course, a new Godzilla movie. This is the same old kit that it always has been for, ever and a day now. I don't know what to tell you about it. If you haven't seen one by now, this kit is, forever and a day old at this point. It is tied up to this Invasion of the Astro Monster thing, which is a 1968 movie, I want to say. Something like that. You do get like a cardboard diorama with this, with Godzilla and the power lines, basically what you see on the box art. So you could sort of have that backdrop effect if you want to. You can build this with the little island jitney thing that it normally comes with. It has all the parts. Nothing's been taken out of it. So it's just a straight reissue, and that's back out again. Arguments about whether or not it's the best Jeep. It's the only, Jeep in 1/25th scale of this. There is, of course, the Hasegawa did a 1/24 scale version of this. There's the Asuka Bantam, which is, of course, the very, very early version of the Willys Jeep, prior to Willys and Ford getting, the contracts for them. So there are, nominally speaking, better Jeep models out there, but it's the only 1/25th one. So it is what it is. Over to the AMT side of things, there are two of the three kits for the month of June are out. First up, you have the big 1/16th scale 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air convertible. Just a straight reissue of this kit. New decals, of course. They're saying white wall tires. I'm not sure with this kit if those are inserts or if those are pad printed. I don't think I've actually ever seen the inside of one of these before. I've never really been a big fan of like mixing scales. I'm not a scale bigot to like, whoa, I won't buy 1/25th scale and I won't buy 1/24 scale. But 1/16th is sort of one of those weird scales where it's a little too big to display with anything other than, other 1/16 scale things, and that well, it's certainly not cheap now, but it was never cheap. The larger scale kits were always more expensive. But, it's a straight reissue of this kit that features pretty much a stock and a custom and, parts and pieces. But everything is there that's always been there. And then the one thing I think a lot of us were waiting on, of a certain age anyway, is this, a reissue of the Lesney era Subaru Brat. Yes, the little Subaru pickup truck that existed back in the late 70s and early 80s. I believe this is supposed to be 1978 in its form you see here. There are a few like extra pieces here. They try to sell you that there's an optional off-road set to this. Basically, it's a roll bar with lights on it. You see on the box art, and then there's sort of a roll bull guard, brush guard kind of thing for the front end. That's pretty much it. There's only one set of tires in here. There's only one set of wheels. It is a straight reissue in that sense. Good to see it wasn't destroyed on the docks of Baltimore, like all of the Lesney era tooling supposedly were. There is an expanded set of decals in here. You get those Brat stripes that are on the side of the sort of the roof to the bed in a couple of different colors. The Subaru logos come in a couple different colors, so you have a couple options there if you don't want to paint the car red or whatever. So that is good to have come back. That'll definitely be something that I pick up straight away, as our British friends would say. So those, that pretty much covers your round two. Over at Salvino's JR, it's a reissue with some new livery of their Oldsmobile 442 NASCAR kit. Of course, Salvino's is NASCAR kits. This one is for the Richard Petty 1979 Daytona winner. They're not saying Daytona, probably because that would involve licensing. One of the most recent Salvino videos I've seen, they called it the Florida winning car. So yes, it is Daytona. I thought it was. I thought the Daytona part had just been bleached off the wall for licensing reasons because Daytona, has always had the sort of Daytona USA wall logos, and that was the thing that made most sense to me. I noticed that they've added an 18 years and older thing to it. I guess that's just an acceptance that their kits are a little more difficult to build than they need to be in 2019. But on the bright side, this car does come with the revised bumper, the revised grille, and the revised rear suspension that for a little bit there was only available, in sold separately packages. There was never, the extra parts thrown into the Monte Carlo kit like they originally had said they were going to do. But that's all sort of water under the bridge at this point because now this kit has all of the parts that you need. So it's up to you what you want to do with this in terms of building it as petty or building it as something else. It's molded in white, just like all the rest of their kits, so there's not necessarily any kind of thing where it's molded in blue and it'd be hard to paint white or anything else like that. Decals look pretty good. I've seen a couple of shots of them playing around with the decal sheet. They give you sort of a masking guideline for painting that red part on the side. That is not something that is a big decal like we had talked about in the past when this kit was announced. So keep that in mind. There is a two-tone aspect to completing the paint job on this. So there is that. And then lastly, not lastly, because there's Revell too, our Mobius kit for this month is the Model King co-branded reissue, I guess at this point. Well, technically speaking, all of these are reissues because they're just new cabs and stuff like that. But this is the reissue of the new Ford F-Series pickup trucks that Mobius is doing. This is the 1965 F100 service trucks. So, Tom Burkett gets his name put on the side of it for Burkett Construction there. Nice. Pretty much this is going to be a long wheelbase V8 kit with, of course, the service truck bed, the Redding bed. It looks like a Redding bed more than anything else, in my opinion. Like most Model King kits, these are limited to a certain run. I have heard rumblings out of New Jersey that they pretty much have sold pretty much all of them downstream. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get one at your local hobby shop. That just means that New Jersey is getting close to being out of them when they ship them out to all the vendors and things like that, which, hey, is a good thing for Dave because he, of course, gets his money back right away. This service bed will fit on any of the long wheelbase Mobius pickups. So it'll fit on the 72 and the 71. I'm trying to think which ones were the long bed, which one was the short bed. The short bed was the 69 and the 70, the 69 and the 72. I'm thinking is right. But any of the 8-foot beds, this is a drop fit because remember these kits, even though they're 65, 66s, are using the same chassis and running gear out of those original kits. That's why I say they're reissues. I don't think there's necessarily too much new about the kit. Otherwise, obviously it has work mirrors and things like that. But I think a lot of the parts, based on some videos I've seen of this kit, comparing it to the 66 flare side, which is of course a short wheelbase V6 inline 6 truck. I think a lot of these parts were actually in that 66 kit, just not used. I'd have to look at my 66, see if it has the work mirrors and things like that. Obviously, it's got work truck wheels and things like that. Definitely something else that I would like to go pick up. Pretty straight with. Just avoid the chance that I couldn't get one at the hobby shop and then have them be stupidly priced online, because once eBay gets a hold of something like this, they'll start jacking the prices up for no reason. And just because I really like the idea of this having the service bed attached to it. I think Dave rather could sell boxes of service beds with no pickup truck attached for $10 less than this kit cost, and could sell the run of just the service beds. So we'll see what comes with that in the future, or if there's any kind of other things. I know there are discussions of various other light commercial work trucks that they were considering doing with the series. So we'll see what comes of that as time goes along. So lastly, on the domestic side of things, for real, is this. It is the one Revell kit that has come out this week, and that is the 1957 Ford Sedan Gasser 2-in-1. So this is one of the kits that we never really got around to talking about at the NNL East. I posted pictures on a couple forums. I posted them on Facebook. I posted them on my Instagram. So, if you follow me on social media, you've seen a lot of that stuff. I meant to do a video from NNL East because I talked to Ed Sexton for a good 10 minutes towards the end of the show. There's sort of corner him, if you will, when there wasn't a whole line of people there to talk to him, and a lot of that information is sort of kind of irrelevant at this point because these kits are starting to come out. So that's what I get for having a real straight day job and not having enough time to record videos. But this kit, since I have all this information in my head floating around from April still, this kit is a combination, of course, of the 1957 Ford. You can build this factory stock without building it into a drag car if you happen, for some reason, not have an original custom 300. And the gasser parts out of the station wagon kit. Those gasser parts were, intentionally, if you will, tooled into the station wagon kit. But of course, all of these 57 Fords have sort of interchangeability to them. The one thing they had to do to this kit was retool part of the inner fender wells and chassis pieces for the front end, because this kit with the gasser parts has those straight pipes that sort of come down through the fenders, and the sedan did not have that provision into it. If you get a wagon out, the wagon has these little pieces that fit into the wheel wells, even on the factory stock Del Rio Ranch wagon, that you have to sort of put in place to close the inner fender wells, because even that kit, prior to it being turned into a drag racing station wagon, had the provisions built into it from the jump to have the exits for the side pipes. So they had to go back and modify the chassis to accept the straight pipes from all of that station wagon tooling. It doesn't affect the actual kit itself, because all they did was basically transmutate it into the same principle of how the chassis in the station wagon works. If you want to build a factory stock, there are inserts that you put into the inner fender wells to close them off so that they don't have the exit for the straight pipes. And of course, you want to build it as a gasser, now you can build it as a gasser. That was a nice little bit of background on this kit and how it was engineered and things like that from Ed. In regards to, because I told him at the time, I said I always thought that the B&M Corvette gasser, it's a black car. It looks just like this, except it's solid black. It doesn't have all the weird decals. You can build this in a couple of different decal schemes, plus there's, like I said, factory stock decals here too. It was a straight black car. It has the same wheels as this kit comes with, as far as what look like mag wheels. I just thought that was a really cool car, and it was really simple, and they had the licensing to D&M because that's who built the 62 Corvette gasser, and, do a little bit of like I said, just a chit-chat about why the station wagon was done first and what they had to do to convert this. So, nominally speaking, this has two new pieces in it, those two inner pieces of fender well for the factory stock version, and otherwise it is just a combination of the two kits, the original 57 Ford and the gasser parts out of the station wagon. So that would be your domestic kits for this week. And like I said, we have a couple of international sales here to discuss, and we'll be done for this video. So Aoshima has 4 kits out this week. All of them are reissues. They are the 3 Back to the Future DeLoreans. You have the Back to the Future car. You have the Back to the Future Part 2 car, which has the fold-up wheels. They actually do fold up, so you can display it sort of in flight with the new, nuclear-powered garbage disposal engine parts. And the Back to the Future Part 3 kit, which of course has all of the Old West stuff added to it. The white wall tires also comes with a little section of like railroad track and railroad wheels, so you can build it that way as well. Seem to come out about every 9 months or so. So if you've been watching for a while, there's nothing really to discuss there. The other kit that was reissued is just a straight restock, and it is of the Velside tuner version of the R32 Nissan Skyline GTR. So that was just put into the 2 model car lineup probably about 6 months ago, sold out, restock. nothing else to discuss there. And then we go over to Hasegawa. They have 3 kits out this video. I guess technically speaking, they're all reissues, and they all have little bits of new things added to them to make them worth talking about, or just more than just throwing you a box art up on the screen. So first up, we have the next kit in the 1966 series. This is the 1966 American Coupe Type B with the blonde girls figure. Once again, the Japanese have not figured out that girls in this sense would be possessive. So I'm not sure who the blonde's figure is the girl possesses, but it is clearly also magical in the sense that it is backwards from her in her shadow again. So be that as it may, this is a Buick Wildcat, obviously a Type B. These are all the same sort of things. They're sort of back engineered versions of AMT Johan kits. Were designed to be slot cars. Originally, Hasegawa ended up with the body toolings, created a generic chassis and a more or less generic interior to go with them. So this again has the same deal where the dashboard has no detail and it's a decal that goes on it and stuff like that. So there basically is only one of these left after this, and that is the Pontiac. So be interested to see if that gets reissued in the late summer, early fall to complete the set. But that's out now for people who are rebuilding their collection of these Hasegawa American cars. Now we can say a couple of these come with figures. Next up is this. It is the reissue of the Group C car that was newly tooled last year. This has a whole bunch of new parts added to it as far as the rear end goes, new wheels. Mostly it's a new engine cover, a new air intake, and things like that. For the YHP Hewlett-Packard sponsored Nissan R92 CP. So there's 20 new parts in this all told. Obviously a new livery scheme because this is a different year of the Japanese sports car prototype series. They, for some reason, keep insisting on calling this a 1991 car. However, the R91 is what ran in 91. R92 ran in 1992. It's not necessarily that cut and dry with all of their numbered designations, but in this case, it happens to work out that way. This car didn't really do particularly too well during the seasons. There are a couple of other R91s and R92s that ran in JSPC or JSCP. That we'd have to see if they do themselves or if somebody else will do livery for. There's an R92 CP that won the championship in 1992, just doesn't happen to be this one. So that is back out for fans of prototype racing. And then lastly for this video is the modified reissue of the Datsun 240Z, the HLS 30 from 1972. So yes, Datsun. So that means this is the US spec. It is specifically a US spec. It's not just a international spec. So a lot of left-hand drive kits that come out of Japan are, export spec. Not necessarily a specification to the United States, they're just left-hand drive versions for outside of the country, which means that in some cases for a lot of the Tamiya kits from the 1990s, they may include California license plates, but they're technically speaking US spec. They're Japanese spec overseas cars. So you have a lot of things where side marker repeaters that shouldn't be there and things like that. This one is specifically tooled up for us here in the United States. So if you want to show some support to this concept of them putting left-hand drive and US spec left-hand drive at that into some of these older kits and possibly get something like a left-hand drive Celica or something along those lines, like the 1970 Celica, go buy this. Let them know that there's support to this. I know these are expensive kits in the United States. If you buy them in the United States, don't do that. Go buy them in Japan. If you don't know where to buy them in Japan, watch the end of the video. There are website addresses to the two main vendors over there. So this kit in and of itself has bumper guards added to it. It has a new left-hand drive mirror added to it. The side repeaters are, of course, added to it in the sense of those side repeaters in the front and rear fenders are not there on the Japanese spec car. The left-hand drive itself and the wipers and things like that are from the Rally kit, so they're not technically new to this kit. If you never, if you are not familiar with the fact there's a left-hand drive rally version of this kit, then the whole left-hand drive thing is new, of course. But specifically to this kit, basically they just add stuff to make it US spec rather than left-hand drive. It already was left-hand drive from the rally car, from the 74 Monte Carlo rally, but this is, again, specific to the United States. Obviously, it has Datsun logos, Datsun decals, things like that, because at the time, we were not sold Nissans here. We were sold Datsuns. So, those are the same set of wheels that come with the 240Z that they sell normally, so nothing new there. And, yeah, it's a very interesting idea that they would go ahead and make a US-specific spec 240Z. If you want one, go buy one. Yes, it's curbside, but I think the best way of sort of convincing them that this is something that they can get behind in the sense of selling these, obviously, having people buy it. As my background knows, my camera lighting is going crazy there. Oh, well, I wonder how long it's been doing that. Probably the whole video, because I'm sitting here looking at box art images as I'm recording. So anyway, guys, that wraps up this week's video. There certainly should be something there for pretty much everybody, no matter what you build. And we will see what the rest of the month holds, with releases. Right now, the double header, the Consolidated Freightways set of 28-foot double trailers, is the one domestic kit that has not come out yet. And then we have Tamiya's reissue of the Mazda, the B-Max Mitsubishi Lancer rally kit. Still looks like it's on course for June. There's one more Fujimi kit, and then there's a bunch of stuff from Aoshima. They have 4 kits this month that are technically new, or new to boxing. So still some stuff to come out this month. It was very surprising to see all of that domestic stuff sort of just pile out of the place all at one time. But, sometimes, it is what it is when that stuff happens. And certainly I don't think anybody's going to sit there and complain. But, oh, well, you know what? I'm not going to buy this because I wasn't expecting it for another 2 weeks. So, no. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys on the other side.